cultural practices versus human rights. Let's unpack that with Shania, a cultural researcher, and Diandra, a human rights advocate. So first, let's define traditional cultural practices. These are customs passed down for generations, often tied to identity, religion, and also heritage. Human rights, on the other hand, are universal. The right to be safe, free, and treated with dignity, no matter your background. Now, here's the paradox. If we respect every culture, does that mean we must also accept things like child marriage or female genital mutilation just because they are traditional?
Well, there's a concept called cultural relativism. It says every culture should be judged by its own standard. It teaches tolerance, but it can go too far if it means ignoring harm. Culture also protects identity, but sometimes also protects injustice.
According to integrated threat theory, people tend to develop prejudice when they feel threatened by an outgroup, whether it's a threat to their safety, values, or identity. That's why cultural reforms can feel so offensive to some communities. It's not just about change, it's about survival. And on a more personal level, that's where bicultural identity integration comes in. In situations where traditional practice clash with human rights, individuals, especially younger people, often feel caught between two identities. They're trying to respect their heritage while also aligning with modern values, which can create deep internal conflict.
Ada salah satu anggota keluarga mereka meninggal. Mereka tidak hanya meratapi dengan menangis, melainkan mereka akan memotong salah satu jari mereka hingga putus.
Fun fact, in Papua, the Dani tribe practices a ritual called potong jari, where women cut off part of their finger as a way to mourn the death of a close family member. It's meant to express deep emotional pain, a physical symbol of grief and loyalty. But from a human rights perspective, it raises tough questions. The act involves self-harm. It can be dangerous, and many argue that social or cultural pressure makes it difficult for women to truly choose freely. Oh, and here's where it gets more complicated. The Indonesian government is caught in a policy paradox. On one hand, they have a duty to protect citizens from harmful practices. On the other hand, they are also expected to respect and preserve indigenous traditions.
This is an intergroup conflict when groups have incompatible goals. The community wants to preserve a sacred tradition while the government aims to protect citizens from harms. They're interdependent too. The states need community trust and the community relies on state support. That's what makes the issue so complex.
Therefore, a transitional justice is needed. A method that focuses on healing and dialogue instead of punishment, and that's how Indonesia has approached the potong jari ritual. Rather than banning it, the government works with local leaders to raise awareness over safer alternatives and respects culture. Over time, the practice has declined, especially among the young.
Well, we can learn that the potong jari ritual reminds us that intercultural understanding isn't about agreeing. It's about seeing through someone else's eyes. Global values might focus on health and rights, but this ritual reflects deep meanings of grief and loyalty.
Yes, judging it as a barbaric shows cultural hegemony, imposing one worldview over another. But when locals adopt the ritual with less harmful symbolic version, that's cultural hybridization in action.
In the end, a real intercultural communication takes empathy, listening without judgment, respecting meaning, and working towards safer change together.
Thank you, Shania and Diandra, for helping us to explore this complex issue. In a global society, balancing respect and rights isn't easy, but it starts with understanding. Thanks for tuning in to Inherited. Until next time, keep asking, keep learning, and keep listening across the lines.